Dan's hunting gear is built for the brush, the toughest briar-proof gear out there.
Out in the briars, woods, and thickets, your gear can't quit before you do.
Dan's builds briar-proof, waterproof, blood-proof gear made for every kind of hound hunter, for the one who's out before daylight and home long after.
Every piece is sewn by hand in the USA by Amish craftsmen who know what hard work means.
No gimmicks, just gear that works as hard as you do.
Find the toughest gear you'll ever wear at danshuntinggear.com or your local dealer. On today's episode, we have two-time Beagle Nationals champion and world champion breeder, owner, handler. They call him the Sheriff. He's the self-proclaimed acting governor of small-town USA, Homer, Michigan, Roy Swafford. You're going to enjoy this one. You're listening to the UKC Hunting Ops Podcast, celebrating hunting dog heritage, competition, and community. United Kennel Club has been the hunting dog sports home for coonhounds, beagles, retrievers, pointers, cur, feist, and more for over 125 years. Well, hey folks, welcome to another episode of Undisputed. I'm Alan Gingrich, Director of Hunting Operations at United Kennel Club, and man, I am tickled to have you here, Mr. Roy. Gosh darn it.
Happy to be here. Happy to be here.
I'm talking about Roy Swafford here from Homer, Michigan, and in the intro, I telling everybody you're from Homer. You're actually from Tecumseh.
Oh, yeah, I'm not from Homer.
Yeah.
You got me confused with Butler boy.
Yeah,
That's Homer.
Okay, that's not too far from there, but yeah.
No,
so,
it's within a stone throw of each other.
I don't know what all I said.
Yep.
Something about you're the mayor too. I don't
Yep,
know what else.
you
But
did.
it's wrong town. Wrong town. You've always lived there pretty much.
Pretty
haven't you?
much. It's
Yeah.
third grade in school.
Yeah.
Yep.
You remember when you first got your first beagle? You remember that?
Yeah, absolutely. That was Dad got me a pair of beagles from Tom Dillard out of the Bellevue Coon Club, and I called them Mandy and Goldie, and they were just flat 2 rabbit dogs. Dad bought me that pair of dogs, and the rest was history. I'd have been probably about 7th grade in school.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Heck yeah. Your dad was a coon hunter basically, wasn't he?
Oh, he was a coon hunter, beagler, all the above. I mean, we hunted. Yeah, my dad was involved, and I think I've said that before. I was a coon club kid growing up. I got to, spend a lot of time at Wolverine State Coon Hunters Club, Onstead Club. Yeah, Dad was involved in a lot of clubs. Our whole family was involved.
Yeah, and that was way back really. And
Way
here the
back.
Bellevue Club is still a big active club here in the state of Michigan.
Dad and that group of guys he was with are really responsible for taking it to the next level.
Yeah.
As far as growth of building onto the building,
Yeah.
a lot of the stuff is probably still there today. I haven't been there in years, but
Yeah.
a lot of that stuff probably still there today that they were contribute to those guys, the Larry Wardingers, the Bill Fords, Dad, Paul Rice. I mean, the list goes on.
So why do you think, if you were kind of around a lot of coonhound guys back as a kid, why do you think you gravitated to the beagle side more so?
I don't know. I just got, when I got into them beagles, and one thing was growing up too, as you get older, I could go hunting during the day and I could go screw around with the guys at night and stuff like that. I wasn't out there coon hunting all night long because I had other interests at night there and stuff. But and I just say the beagles just really grabbed a hold of me.
Yeah.
And about that timeline too, Dad was kind of shifting more towards pulling horses and that kind of stuff. So he kind of started a different direction, and so and it just easy. I kept beagles around, and when the coon dogs got old, Dad just didn't replace them.
Yeah. Do you remember your first ever UKC Beagle hunt? Was it one of the first ones we ever had?
Oh, I would say if it was close. I don't know. It'd have been in '91. There went down to St. Louisville, Ohio, with Don Sexton. Me and Don drove down there, and it was in Jerry Major's chicken. It was at Jerry Major's place, and I had Ace, Swafford's Ace dog, and I got beat that day by Ron Miller, who Ron ended up with like the first dual champion or something like that day. But yeah, that started it. It was a
What was it like back in those days? Nowadays we have clubs all over, but in those early days, something new and exciting, and
it was, and it had a great interest. I mean, their entries were usually quite large. I mean, there was a lot of folks. It was drawing a lot of crows. Now, dog-wise and stuff, comparing today, I heard Matt Turner compare, and he was right on about the fact when in those days when you went to a hunt, you knew 100% what dog was the to beat dog. Today, them are a lot more. That dog that can beat you is far greater than what it was in those days.
yeah. How many people would show up at a trial?
Oh, it wasn't anything to see, especially registered category. You'd see 7 to 8 registered casts. I mean, I remember the days of Michigan State hunt. We'd have 200 dogs there the first
That's
day.
Crazy.
Yeah, there would be just humongous numbers.
And came from all over,
right,
not just
exactly.
in Michigan, other
just
states.
In Michigan.
Yeah,
The Michigan State hunt used to draw huge numbers.
Yeah. Well, hey, since then you've been very successful. Obviously, from basically from day one, had some good dogs to start out with. But man, you're kind of on an elite list. We have a historical winners list, and I kind of went down through there, and I knew you won the Nationals 2 times, and you won a world championship 1 time. But there's a couple others, and that list is pretty elite. Jason Vandergrift 1 time as an owner, 1 time as a co-owner, so he's a 2-time winner. Bill McFarland won it twice. Dan Mazalik is actually one of 2 3-time winners. Won it twice with Bo at Touchstone, dog that I'm sure you're very familiar with.
Exactly.
Denny Dugan, Branko Capran, they won it twice with Mystery Man.
Yeah.
Dave Hummel won it twice. Brian Mead actually won it 3 times with. He won it with Winnie Booty and Dez, and then 2 more times as a co-owner. So he's.
Mead, I used to joke with him about that horseshoe and his tail feathers. I'd be glad when he pulled it out, because there was a time Brian Mead just couldn't get beat.
Yeah. And then Owen D'Agostino won it last year with Breeze, and that made him a 2-time winner.
Yeah.
But you're right in that group. That's
awesome. That's a great list of people, and glad to be one on the front end of it there, to be considered in that group.
And we're going to talk about it here. I'm sure you won the very first Nationals, and you also won the 4th or 5th Nationals.
Yep.
But
it'd be 92 and 95.
Yeah. But hey, Roy, let's get into this. Start talking about some of these dogs. So this is kind of a series for Undisputed, and I've asked you. We want to talk about what you consider as your top 3 dogs. Don't have to be your own, can be, don't have to be, but we're just going to start with number 3. We might even throw a couple others in there, but let's start with your number 3. And who would you call your number 3 dog?
My number 3 dog was a dog named Taylor's Black Magic Ace. He was off my Swafford's Ace dog, and a female of that Leroy owned that I called her, I believe it was McMillan Marsh Queenie. And got to be great friends with Leroy. He bred Ace, and didn't really hear much about this dog for a long time. And then Leroy got a hold of me and was telling me about him and said, "Roy, you need to come get this dog." And at the time, I didn't know if I want. He goes, "Hey, if you drive out and get him," and he gave me the dog. And boy, I got him home and got to hunting him, and just the dog fell in love with him. He was a really nice dog. He was transitioned from Ace had got old on me, and I didn't really have that replacement for him, and he 100% became the replacement for him.
What did you like about him?
His trackability, his mouth trackability. He could just, I called it running water. He could just flow. He drove a track as hard and line control like no other. That was his absolute strong point.
Yeah.
His they all got weak points. His weak point would have been his hunt. He didn't have the desired hunt that I wanted. But man, and it wasn't that he didn't have it. He wasn't consistent about it, and that's where what hurt him, because he he had his opportunity. That dog was in the finals of 2 world hunts in a row. He was in the finals of the first world hunt and the second world hunt.
So that would have been about 2000
and 2001.
Yeah.
I made the finals both years, with 2 years in a row with him, and 100% I can tell you what beat him was hunt. He needed to go jump game.
Yeah.
And he just didn't get it done for me. But other than that, they all got faults. You just got to learn what you want to live with and what you don't. But he was just so nice, such a pleasure. Stone broke. I mean, if anything run, anything off, here he'd come. And I mean, stand right at my feet. Beautiful dog.
Yeah, so you mentioned you got him from Leroy Taylor up in Wisconsin. Back in the early days, we had several clubs in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
And,
I made several trips out there in the 90s out there.
So his mama was McMillan's Marsh Queenie. What was she?
I think she was Texas T-bred. I can't really remember all of it. And to be honest with you, I don't know that I ever really seen her papers on her, but Ace was a beautiful hound. I mean, blanket back, saddle dog, just a super nice dog.
Yeah.
And he did well. I mean, he did extreme. I'm actually in that 2001 era too. He made it to the finals of the national when they first started the Grand National runoff. He was in the finals of that too.
Oh
yeah, and looked really super that day. And I got beat by I believe Jason beat me.
Yeah. Hey, when we were talking on the phone about a couple of your dogs here or whatever, you were talking about Black Magic Ace here or whatever, and you rattled off his UKC number. That's from mid-'90s. That's 20 years ago.
Don't ask me why stupid stuff. There's plenty. When my wife hears this, she's gonna think why I remember this, and I didn't remember to pick up something she told me on the way to. Hey, pick this up on the way home. I can't never remember that, but I can rattle off a UKC number from the 1990s. So.
Hey, I'm kind of that way. I can one of my best coonhounds too that I still remember the number from mid-'90s too. Really?
Yeah. Man, I think Aces was like P161 508 or something like that, 509 or something. It's close in that same category. So, I don't know why that kind of stuff sticks with me.
Yeah. So you got him. He was still a registered dog when you got him, right? So I'm looking at his hunt record here, and back in those days, you had to have that first place win. You know, the top 4 scores would go out in a winner's pack. Is how we did it up until, I don't know, not that long ago, in the last 10 years.
Right.
You know, so, but I see he had 9 placements before he finally got his first. And they all came in Iowa, Hebron, Wisconsin, Austin, Indiana. That was a good place to go. I used to go up there and trial some over close to Fort Wayne there. But then you ended up, looks like the World Hunt maybe. Looks like the World Hunt there. And then he finally got a first in December of 1998.
Yep, at Langsburg.
Langsburg. You remember that hunt?
Yep, do. Yep.
December. That's like this time of year. Actually, that was December 6th, so at this time of the year.
Yep, he was like I say, it took, and not discredit to him or nothing. In those days too, there was a lot. There'd be placements too where you won your cast, and he had a ton of fists and that kind of stuff to where I placed in the hunt, but I didn't make winner's pack. Yeah.
So then went on to got your 5 champion wins. Then he granted out, and any other hunt you mentioned the World Hunt. Mm-hmm. He was in the final cast a couple times, right?
Yep, was in the final cast of that. Had a great cast, one of that most epic cast there down there at Tom Moon's in West Virginia down there and stuff. I drew the first one there was with Elliot with Whoop Ash, and Ricky was in there, and Rose there. Jason was handling Rose, and Dale's Ricky dog Daryl Pruney was hunting him, and I'll never forget it. Me and Dale took a minus, or it wasn't Dale, it was Daryl handling. We took a minus up there on Tom Moon's, and I had first. I had first or second strike, and it was just me and Ricky, and we took that minus, and that pretty much did us in right there. And if I'd had to do over again, I'd have struck him in a million years. And I've heard Mitch Gould talk about that the next week or something, or they were up there running and actually went into that area where they stood, because him and Ricky both hit super hard, and it just ended. And they walked in there. He said, "Hey, they found there was like a big clump or something that was buried in them briars that rabbit could have went into." But hey, they took a minus, and be honest with you, if they judged it, they took them. They took their minus, but it was a fun cast. I've had some good times had some great times with that dog right there.
Offspring produced 118 pups, several titled ones. Looks like at least about 10 of them. Did you keep anything out of him or what?
Yeah, I did. I had a few of them around there nothing that was super exciting, and I think I moved most of them. Didn't have nothing that I really competed with then. At that point with him right there.
Dual Grand Little Lady, look, Magic's Little Lady.
Yep, that actually might have been Jerry Batchelder's, might have owned her, or
no, Batchelder, he had one named Black Diamond Queen.
Okay,
is that the one maybe?
Yeah, that could have been her. Yep. Yeah, so that must have been Leroy's dog.
Yeah. Yep. There was a Briar Creek Chief, Cedar Creek's Big Bad Boss.
Yep.
Laurel Fork Crybaby, Queen of Spades.
That was a dog out in West Virginia there.
Oh yeah.
Yep. She was a dandy.
Tiger Valley Coltrane.
Yep. That was old Clyde Hadding's buddy. I should be able to remember.
It's kind of cool to go back and look at some of these dogs.
I should have been more prepared and looked to remember names and stuff like that. But
Black Magic Ginger.
Dale took
Bandit.
Yeah, it was funny. I can remember drawing a cast at I believe it was the first ever eliminator. One of my favorite casts with Ace was probably at the first eliminator, and I drew a head-to-head with Ricky. And boy, going out there, everybody thought I was going to get skinned. I mean, at that time, Ricky, and to this day, nothing shame against any of them other White River dogs. To me, Ricky is the cream of the crop of what. And I knew going out there that it was me and Chuck Springer, and Chuck was around them days ever. And man, we turned him loose, and boy, we started having some rabbit races. And I mean, Ace was getting it. And I ended up putting it on Ricky a little bit, and Ace looked phenomenal. And when we got done, Chuck asked me, he goes, "Can you just let that little hound run some more?" And I said, "Yeah, I don't care, Chuck. Let's run him." We get back to the truck. He flips his checkbook up there on the hood of the truck, and he says, "You just write in the numbers. That dog ain't going back to Michigan." I said, "Oh." He was actually owned with me and my oldest daughter, Ashlyn. And Ashlyn liked Ace. And I said, "Oh, Chuck, I could never sell this dog." I said, there's just some things that ain't for sale, and he's one of them. Yeah. I just would never sell him. But I ended up getting Vic say, that cast right there with Ricky, oh, I would love to have that on video, because them two dogs absolutely pounded. And his line control and him being able to control the front, and just at that time, not a lot of dogs had beat Ricky, and he was one of the first to do it, and he did it right. That was one going out of there that were very nice to win.
For our listeners, Ricky, who was Ricky exactly?
That would have been Dale Pruney's White River Miss Ricky.
Miss Ricky, female.
And in that era, she won. I mean, she was the total dog. She was absolute rabbit dog and bench dog. I mean, what Dale's philosophy was, the total dog. Ricky 100% made that what it was. And I tell you, I really like that little female, for sure.
See, you're talking about the eliminator that runs in the middle of February, so that's in the middle of winter.
Yeah, that was 2000. That was the very first. One of the very first eliminators. Back
in those days, you had more events in the middle of winter than we do now. It seems like, especially up here But he also, coming out of Wisconsin, he was probably used to that.
Oh yeah, I mean, it didn't much matter, He had great nose. The dog had, he's clean with his mouth, could run a track, and like I say, he could phenomenally hang on to it. His ability to hang on and drive a track the way run it to catch, he did it and could flat control it. And like I say, he had one hole, and that was his hunt was inconsistent. And it was a major hole for me, but he did such a nice job that I couldn't never not keep him around. But his big wins where he ended up losing made me a 2-time in a row. Like I say, I had a chance to win the World Hunt 2 years in a row with him, and he just his hunt is what cost me the hunt.
Yeah, well, I know we're gonna talk about you finally winning a world hunt with a different dog, but he was one of them that kind of made you pull your hair out a couple times.
How could you? I used to get down on that, but that dog put me in the winner's circle put me in the finals of the World Hunt 2 years in a row. He was in the finals of the Nationals, and all in the same year. When you look at everything that dog accomplished to beat him up that he didn't win it, today I beat him up, but at that time frame when I showed up with him, everybody knew that he was there. That was one of the dogs to beat right there. I think I remember Todd Morgan writing an article about him that the only question was for Roy is could he win on the national level, and he answered that really quick that he could.
Yeah. Anything else you got on an old Black Magic Ace?
Nah, not much. Just the dog was and like I say, he was just a great little dog. I mean, I just really enjoyed him. You couldn't, as far as rabbit dog, everything else, there would be times I wish he hunted harder, but as far as complete hound, he was one of the best I ever turned loose, for sure. I wished he could have been better. Like I say, he went down. Dale had him down there for a while, and they bred a few females to him. And Clyde Hanning told a story that once about he come down there a real nice hound, but we got him interested in the chickens, and then he became an even better dog. Made him he said, we can't afford a bunch of dogs. Our dogs got to do multitask. So that was always a funny story how he told everybody around that he was great until they got him started on them chickens. But for the listeners that know Clyde, they know firsthand that I'm only touching the iceberg of what this story went down.
With Eukanuba, stamina is the one difference I'm seeing. When I'm running hair up north, my dogs will put on 10, 12, 15 miles of solid running, and they just don't tire as easily or as quickly. Oftentimes, my work schedule does not allow me to have the desired physical conditioning on my dogs, but even then, as many as 25 or more miles a day of hard running is just another day in the office. To me, it's been apparent Eukanuba's 30-20 sport formula is making that difference. Eukanuba, the official performance dog nutrition partner of UKC. Number 2 dog, who do you have in your?
And this is where I'm going to get beat up by the old timers, but it's Swafford's Ace. I mean, he's the dog that he created me. I mean, he's what I started in the trials with. He was my first. I hold claim to being the first ever big hunt winner with Swafford's Ace. And
Born in 1986.
yeah, he was a complete package dog, absolute complete package.
Hard to believe it's been that long ago. We were
Been that
talking
long.
30 years.
Yeah, there's a big titled guy in this office that's seen Ace a whole bunch, and Kellum. I mean, Todd Kellum, them guys all seen Ace a lot. Ace I ended up having to put him down. He must have been, and I'm going to be honest with you, I didn't know when we registered, when all these hunts started, I didn't really know his true birth date. So what we have there is just kind of a guesstimate of what his age was, as far as.
Well, it looks like a guess March 17th.
Yeah, because I didn't, he was single registered. I knew he was born in the early spring, but we didn't keep records of. I didn't have, he was just a little grade beagle that I rabbit hunted with.
Well, he's one of them registered as foundation stock,
right.
And that actually went in his name. F.S. Swafford's Ace.
Yep. Well, back in them days, I had a pair of dogs named Ace and Jack. And Jack was by far the harder hunting of the two, but as far as complete dog, Ace was, both of them finished grand and stuff like that, but Ace was just by far, he was a quicker dog and just complete rabbit dog. I mean, when he jumped a rabbit, it was you couldn't hardly strike him on the third bark, and just smooth as silk. Yeah. And perfect little hound, little dog. But no, so for him to be number 2, I had to be him being 2 would be just because he put me on the map. I mean, people recognize Roy by Swafford's Ace. Yeah. For absolutely.
I think I remember Taylor's Ace. He must have liked that name. He called every dog Ace, I guess. But, I think Taylor's Ace, the one I remember most. But I remember Swafford's Ace a little bit.
Yeah. All right. And out of respect to Leroy, I kept his name. I mean, I'm the one that finished him, but I didn't. There wasn't any pup, so I could have changed his name, but I kept his name Taylor's Black Magic Ace to keep out of respect to the man that bred him and actually started him and put a lot of time in him. Yes. And I felt credit was there, but. Ace was off Ace's bloodline would have been off of Don Sexton, who would have been the original Coldwater Kennels. Back in them days, me and Sexton and Pat Tappenden and Doc Fisher, we went to all the hunts together and stuff, and we had them. I had a pair of females named Mandy and Goldie that Dad had bought for me for Tom Dillard here in Michigan, which Tom's been gone, but Tom was around the old Bellevue Coon Club, and he had this pair of females. Well, Dad was wanting to get me a pair of beagles, so he got me them pair of beagles, and I had Mandy and Goldie. Well, we bred Goldie to Don Sexton's little Buford dog, and Buford was just a little dog, a little 3-legged dog, but boy, he could reproduce. And we got them, and I didn't have Ace. I was a young kid at the time, and when that litter of Ace was born at the house, Dad, we were coon hunting and other stuff. We didn't keep a pup one. And Don took the entire litter, gave the whole litter to Don. Don, just come get these pups, you can have them. So he took them, and later on, I probably didn't even buy. I'd got in, hunted them up, and I wanted Ace. Then I hunted with Ace a bunch with Don, and always wanted him, but Don would never part with him. Well, I finally kept after him, and he called me one day and told me, he says, if you want him, he priced him to me. I think I paid $600 for him, and I couldn't get over there fast enough.
That was actually a pretty good chunk.
Oh,
at
I
that
wanted
time.
him bad. Yep,
that was a good chunk for a dog at that time. Yeah.
So I bought him bad, and he would have probably been about a 3 or 4 year old dog, and I was looking for one, and that was all being with my dad. My dad was like, if any dog over there you go get, you buy that Ace dog. Yeah. He said, I don't care what else. He said, he's going to try to sell you something else. But he said, don't you come back with anything else with that. He said, if you're buying a dog, you buy the Ace dog.
Yeah. I hear you talking about Sexton all the time.
Yeah. He was one of the original, out of people, the characters of that era and stuff, it'd have been Don. I mean, Don was in the coonhound. Well, a lot of the guys should remember Don from the coonhound world too. He had the Coldwater Toby and Rascal and them dogs. He sold some plot dogs to Berlin King.
Oh yeah,
back in the day. Yeah. So yeah. Yeah, Don just recently, here probably less than a year ago, Don just passed away.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was in his 80s there. He moved, he was up in the Michigan area. My dad always called him Arky, and because he was from Arkansas. And he ended up going back to Arkansas. Me and him lost touch, and we'd talk occasionally every once in a blue moon, but we didn't keep real good tabs of each other. But there was a time frame. Me and Don, we hunted a lot together.
Yeah. Hey, one thing, when I was looking up this dog's record that I know is he's foundation stock, but he only shows one win on his record in the system. So it must be, to begin with, we didn't even have a system for them to put their wins in.
I'm telling you.
He's obviously a Grand Hunting Beagle champion.
You're right, yeah.
April of 1992 is the only one recorded win in the system, unless they just slapped a Grand Hunting Beagle title on him there.
Oh, I carry some clout, but I didn't carry that. And I tell you, he was a dog too. When you talk about champ, to make him grand too. In those days, you had to be the top champion to get a champion win.
Yeah.
And I would hate to think of the cast wins that dog had before I got my 5 wins.
Yeah.
Because
you weren't the high scoring dog.
You weren't the high scoring dog. You were just out.
Yeah.
It didn't count for anything. So but I can remember my first that I got with him was in Plymouth, Wisconsin. And I got that's what made him to a hunting beagle champion. And that put him, I used to have it at home. There was a list of like 7, Bill Sawyer finished the first with the old Hacksaw
dog.
Well,
General
Hacksaw was the very first hunting beagle champion. But then that weekend, there was 6 or 8 dogs that all made hunting beagle champion. And we were all within like a 2-week Pat Tappenden with Coldwater Hank. And
was that kind of a race back then to get that?
To make that, to get into that. You wanted to get in that group there, that first champions. And we drove out to a 2-day hunt out to Plymouth, Wisconsin. And I believe Hank finished the first day. Hank won the champs, and then I won to make champion. And the next day on Sunday, I won the winners pack and won and finished him to a grand, or finished him to champion.
So he's in the first dozen that ever made champion.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, he's within the first 10. Yeah.
You mentioned General Hacksaw that he had. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think like dogs like D'Agostino's Sir Mongo. I think he goes back to old Hacksaw.
Oh, really?
I
didn't know that.
I think he does.
I didn't know that. Yeah,
way back in there.
Yeah, Bill. There was another character of the day was Bill Sawyer.
Yeah.
I mean,
the Grange, Indiana.
Yep.
He had a lot of dogs.
And after he finished him, he never hunted him as a champion.
Really?
He never hunted the dog as a champion.
Huh. No kidding.
Yep.
Huh.
Yeah, because Hank Tappenden's Coldwater Hank ended up being the first ever grand, and he got all his wins solo. Which, people will say, oh, you didn't have to hunt against anybody, but you also, you took the 100 minuses and everything else. Yeah. And to this day, Hank is one would be if you were to ask me the top 5 dogs I've ever seen go, it'd be hard not to put Hank in that category.
Yeah. So that probably one of the biggest wins is probably first ever Nationals.
Oh,
you won that with him. What was that? Going into the first Nationals, where was it? Holmesville, Ohio, I think?
Killbuck. Down there at Killbuck.
Remember that hunt, I'm sure?
Oh, I can remember it. I know it was Kyle Klingeman, me and Kyle, and I believe might have been Pat Schaefer and Brad Thomas. We all went down there, and we went down there in a single-seat F-150. Drive down there. I can remember waking up in the parking lot, seeing all the layout of it, that kind of thing, and it was like, holy smokes, we're at the big time, like that. And at that era, he was a grand, and at that time frame, I owned a dog named Ward's Dan Henry that came from Jeff Ward. Well, there was 60, I believe at the first Nationals, there was 16 grands, because I believe there was 4 casts of grands.
Yeah.
And so we went to, we put them out. Well, ended up in that era too, if you owned both dogs, they didn't split them.
Oh.
So I ended up drawing my Dan Henry dog, a dog from Maryland, I can remember, and I can't think of who the other dog was. And Ace ended up winning the cast and looked really good. But I had like 350 plus, won the cast. We get back to the club, and that was too when they took the top grand, top champion, and top scoring registered. them three hunted against each other for the overall title.
Yeah.
You know, so the champion and grand, you had to be that top scoring dog.
So there wasn't like an elimination.
No,
it just had the top.
Elimination came after. Well, this is the platform of what created the elimination events because people because you could win your cast and everything and go out of there and get nothing. For it.
Yeah.
So we come in, we're waiting for Cass to come in, and my good friend, and just talked to the old man a week ago, Merle Spicer, with Dirty Dan Bow. He comes in, and he's got like 4 1/4. I congratulate him, moving on and stuff. Well, we go out there, we're loading up. I'm headed out. I'm beat. So we're out there, and all of a sudden I can hear up at that pavilion, what they do at Killbuck, that to this day is still the greatest place to hold a big event ever. That's the best. If you ask me where to take a big event, I'm going to tell you Killbuck every time. Well, I hear about it, and here comes Doc Fisher running out there. He's like, Roy, don't go home. You're in it. I said, no, I'm not. Merle beat me. He says, nope, Merle just got scratched.
For why?
Wrong time. That was when you had to record the time on there.
Yeah.
And Merle's cast, they had the wrong time on the card that got the whole entire cast scratched.
That used to happen kind of too much.
Oh, yeah. That was, we used to pronounce it and everything. Make sure you check your time. Make sure you check your time.
Because it had the time in boxes and time out boxes, and a lot of times you just didn't add it up right.
I think it was a guy from Missouri that was judging the cast, and I can't remember what his name was, but I do believe some of the story was he went off his watch, and for the time frame or the time difference and stuff, he'd recorded a different time is what ended up being why that the time was off. Well, like saying Todd Morgan was the Master of Hounds that year. So so Todd got to be, that's what Todd's big, the first ever, and you get to be one of the guys to throw him out. And and I felt horrible about making the finals that way. I totally felt terrible about making it like that. And Merle, true to form, comes right up there to me, and I'm like, Merle, this is wrong. I'm sorry. You should be going. And without hesitation, he looks at me, he goes, no, I shouldn't. I screwed up. I didn't check the time, got my dog scratched. He said, so here's what you're going to do. Get out there and win that thing. He said, now go win it. He said, don't you feel bad about my mistake. I made a mistake, and they followed the rules, and they scratched me and then put me through. And that really, I needed to hear that from Merle, because Merle to this day is I have the utmost respect for that man. He was near and dear to my family. I mean, he spent time. I mean, when he'd come to Michigan, he stayed at my house. I mean, Merle to this day is one of the most classiest men I've ever met in my life. And for him to tell me that, to go on and move out, was good. So we went to move on to the final cast. It was Chris Hackathorn.
See, he was in West Virginia?
West Virginia, which it wasn't Charlie. Chris Hackathorn's claim to fame was with the old West Virginia Charlie dog, but it was a Lonesome Girl. He'd won the registered with Hack's Lonesome Girl, and Owen Arnold from West Virginia with a dog named Chubby won champions. And
Arnold's Chubby.
And man, I tell you what, I was down that whole cat. I was just out of pocket. Ace Wood, and I believe Steve Fielder wrote the article on this, and he said it right in the article there, how Ace proved to be an independent hunting dog, which that's what he was. He would always get himself off while these dogs were jumping rabbits behind him. Ace was having to come to him. I was scoring first on the lines, but I was taking third strike all the time on what scoring we had early. Well, it got down to the end of the cast, and we turned loose, and what helped, and Chubby had built some lead, but then Chubby took a minus. So that put me back in the ball game here, and I needed to put Hack up, and I needed to catch up, and we turned loose, and we jumped a rabbit, and I can't even remember what strike I was in on it, but they're pounding it in there, and man, I'm thinking, oh man, we're never going to see this. And I'll give Larry Elliott credit. Larry Elliott took off up in there in that hill, and I heard him holler line. None of us moved. There was no sense of us, and he running up there to see it or anything like that, because where he was at, he hollers out score, and I could hear Ace coming. It breaks down. I hear Ace pick the check, and he's singing. And at that point, he was the only dog running. And I'm thinking, in my head, I'm thinking, unless some other dogs aren't saying nothing, he's there by himself. And you hear Larry holler out, Ace scores. And then and then you hear the other dogs put in past it. And he goes, the other two miss it. And boy, oh my gosh. Then the next 5, I don't know what was left there, but I can promise you, Alan, I burnt the ground up pacing there, waiting for that hunt to get over, because now I know
They were 2-hour hunts.
Yeah, 2-hour cast to get I was doing everything to think that it felt like, I forget what the time was, but it felt like eternity for that cast to get over. And man, when they called hunt right there, that was what a feeling to go down there to the very first big UKC event and to come home the winner. You know, I remember walking out the crowd. There was a pretty good gallery of folks that went out to watch him and watch the cast and stuff like that. And it was a great cast, and Hack and Owen, you know, and I developed 2, you know, out of another thing I gained there, I gained great friends, you know, like I say, Hack was Hack, but Owen Arnold and I, we became great friends after that cast. We you know, just the things you met and that kind of stuff. But here, and at that point, this would have been 92, so I was like a 22-year-old kid. Yeah. You know, so.
Did your dad go with you to these
Nope,
hunts at all?
Dad
He never
didn't.
went.
You know, Dad didn't, you know, and that goes hand in hand with what Dad, even in the coonhound world and stuff, you know, Dad he was the president of Bellevue Coonhound Club forever, and Onstead, but he was more that you know, he run things. He didn't really hunt in the events. You know, we pleasure hunted. We pleasure hunted a ton. You know, I listened to the podcast of Todd Morgan did with you and Todd Kellum, Todd brought up the story about where he first meeting me and stuff as a kid. Them meetings up at the Bellevue Club, I'd bring my beagles. Me and Kellum would go run beagles while they were doing the that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But that was Dad. Dad was what. And today it's a gone thing, but his main focus was the success of that club. Yeah. The success of that club and building and growing a club was Dad's focus. Dad's focus was not to go to campaign or anything like that. And not to say Dad didn't hunt a nice coonhound, because he did. He hunted some very nice coonhounds.
Yeah.
Hey, Alan, I don't know if you've been messing around with this new Houndsman Advantage app at all, but I've been playing with it some, and it has some really cool features on it. One, it has the interactive scorecard view where you can assign strike and tree points at the touch of a button, and it automatically totals your scores after each set of points are scored and valued.
Yeah, no, I like it as well. Some of the features that I like is that you can access the rules, and that it comes with a search function to easily find any specific rule. Also like that there's a place for your dog's registration numbers, and you can store pictures of your easy entry cards. I like that you can track 2 dogs' performances when out pleasure hunting. You'll find some analytics on your dogs. You can record their accuracy, win percentages, and a whole lot of things like that.
No more lying here on this app. The last thing about the scorecard I'll talk about is it has the summary view as well, where you can see the total points you have and the pending points that you have, along with tree timers for each dog. So it's going to come in handy for judges as well. So check it all out on the new Houndsman Advantage app.
Hey, I gotta look. I'm looking here on my cell phone. My brother Johnny sent me some old. He's all into these old magazines, old Beagle magazines. He's got some from way back. Speed Shorty from 70 years ago.
Yep.
I'm looking at it right here. Here's 30 years. Right here's one that he sent me. Roy Swafford Jr., Michigan, posing hunting Beagle national champion Swafford's Harry.
Yeah.
What was that in 1995?
95.
Looks like. Remember that picture?
I've got that magazine.
Man,
I've got that magazine.
See, 95, how old would you have been there?
Well, 95, I'd have been about 24, 25.
Yeah.
That would have been in the fall. I believe Nationals then was in the fall.
Yeah.
Fall of the year. So, yeah, I'd have been 25.
Yeah, he sent me this another old picture here.
In that time frame there, in that hunt too, I actually won the Grands and won the Register to that 95 with Ward's Dan Henry.
Yeah. So there's another one from like 70 years ago. He sent me a picture of advertising a box that goes in the back of your car.
Okay.
When they used to haul dogs in the trunk, basically, you know.
Oh.
The ad says, "Merry Christmas from Scrub Oak. Don't ruin that new car and have the missus on your neck. You can buy this new box to put in the back of your truck. $25.
Yeah, I tell you, talking about a box, bringing up the Wisconsin trial, I'll never forget it. We drove out there, and I drew out with a guy that, and I'd rode out there. We got it for his vehicle, and I swear it was like an AMC Gremlin, and he had the back of it. He had wire across the back of it, and dogs in there. The entire back of it was the dog box. So I can tell you what the inside of that smelled like, but that was
So going back to Ace here again, so that was kind of his hunt stuff there, but his did you ever do any good with him in the world hunt? Did you have him in the world hunt as well?
There wasn't a world hunt.
Oh, there wouldn't have been at that time. Yeah,
Ace was gone. Ace was gone by the time he started. World hunts didn't start till 2000.
Yeah,
he was alive because I think because I always said that he was a dog I run when he run a rabbit in the 80s and 90s, and it would have been. Right about, I can't remember. I think he made it to almost, he was born in the late 80s. So I know that.
86.
What I had on there. And I think he was around 17, 18 years old when I finally had to put him down.
No kidding.
Yep. And he was just a classy little dog. I mean, Ace I could take him in the house. He ride in the front seat with me. You know, Jack, I always had Ace and Jack, and like I say, guys that know me for years knew that was a pair of dogs I always had. And Jack was a great dog, don't get me wrong. And, you know, and I've been blessed to have walked behind some very nice dogs. Some I owned and some I didn't. You know, some of the nicest dogs I owned, I walked behind and never owned a hair on them. Yeah. But Ace was he just had more charisma to him. And just that dog, when he knew, there was them dogs you take to trials that almost, I swear that they know they're at a trial.
Yeah.
And Ace was that dog. Ace knew when it was game time and had to perform, and boy, he did.
Yeah.
I can remember hunting in a cast down in Ohio. Actually, I can remember it to this day. I got beat by Dirty Dan Bo, claim to fame, and I'll admit it wholeheartedly. I never beat that dog. Of all the years of wanting to beat him, I always wanted to beat him and never got it. I lost to him at Killbuck one day, and I believe I had a hunt at St. Louisville the next day. Combined days, I lost by 12 and a half. I got beat by 5. I got beat by 7.5 the next day.
Yeah.
And Bo needed on the second day, Bo needed a line by himself to beat me. Hunt's running out. They get split. Here comes Bo's rabbit up. Comes right across, score. As soon as he scores, a hunt runs out, and Merle Spicer, true to form, looks at me and says, "Man, that's got to suck because you definitely deserve to win today." But in that cast that day, I can remember him striking down there, and when Ace struck, I climbed on him, and 3 deer got him. Yeah. And the guy, I can't remember who it was, in the cast goes, "He's running a deer." I said, "If that dog's running a deer, I'll give him to you." And here, when he struck, the other ones fell in, and here come a rabbit, come running up out of there. But them guys they couldn't believe it. He jumped a rabbit right in the same but that was, both them Ace dogs were so clean.
Yeah.
You know, just absolute, and just fun dogs to hunt.
Yeah.
Just absolute fun dogs to hunt. But again, like I say, I've been, to narrow this down to these 3, was partial and picked the 3 that had my name on them for this interview. But man, I tell you what, some guys have put some dogs in my hands that I've been just blessed to turn loose.
Hey, we didn't talk about, you bred Ace a little bit, Swafford's Ace. You bred him a little bit.
Yeah.
Looks like 60 dogs or 60 pups on record.
Right. And
anything you kept out of him at all?
Swafford's Harry.
Harry. Oh, yeah. Harry was awful.
95 which, like I say, I didn't include him. Harry ended up being sterile, so I never got any pups out of him. But Harry himself, he was a late bloomer. But boy, once it took forever for him to start. He was a hard dog start. And actually, before he won the Nationals in 95.
Harry did.
And the only reason he was in that hunt is at the time I was hunting a female named Jody that was probably one of the nicest dogs I had out of Ace at the time. She came in heat. Harry became a substitute for, if she doesn't come in heat, Harry doesn't win that, because the only reason Harry's in that hunt is because Jody come in heat.
Oh, yeah.
And he just went down there and conditions, and he just played right into his hands, and he ended up winning the very first Nationals over Donnie Devinger with a penny female and my Dan Henry dog. And at that era too, Harry was out of one of the most talked about crosses of that time. There was a dog in these parts named Daly's Abbey, which all the old timers will be able, the guys that's been around will, and even if you hadn't, you've got some old magazines. Daly's Abbey was a phenomenal dog.
I remember that dog. She was.
She won, Challenge Series. I mean, Abby was the dog when if you drew Abby.
Levi and Abby, I remember.
Levi and Abby. Holy smoke. I tell you, I tried to buy Abby. I tried everything. Well, we bred Ace to Abby. And that was my stud fee pup. I got Harry.
Oh, yeah.
And, man, I tell you, I was actually really down on him.
You're talking about Jody here.
Yeah, no, Harry.
Oh, Harry.
Jody was
Okay,
out of an Indian Hills female and Ace, but no, Harry was off of Ace and Abby.
Ace and Abby, I got you. Yeah.
And he ended up winning the very first, or the 95 Nationals.
Yeah.
And and say Harry, but I tell you, Harry became kind of the community dog after I won Nationals, and he ended up being sterile. I didn't really. That's where the reason Black Magic Ace come along was the reason Harry was sterile, and I knew, like, I'm not gonna, there's no sense really pushing him. I did hunt him in some hunts and that kind of stuff, had some fun with him, but I bred him to several females after he won Nationals, and I wasn't never getting a pup.
Yeah.
Well, I took him, had him tested, and he ended up, for whatever,
that's
genetically wise, he ended up being sterile.
Oh, yeah.
So I never got a pup off Harry. Yeah. So that's what brought me to even owning Ace, the Black Magic Ace dog.
Yeah. So going back to these, your number 3 and number 2 and number 3, Ace, and both of them Ace, both of them Ace, number 3. How do you think they would stack up? That was back in the early days. How would you stack them up to the dogs today?
It's kind of come full circle. I think right now my original Ace dog would stack up very well because he was a jump dog and a check dog, control dog, had better than average foot. He would compete great. What I've mentioned in earlier here with and it wasn't that Ace wouldn't compete, but the same thing, his downfall was his inconsistency on his hunt. That would still be still be the same problem today.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, both dogs would compete and win today, but they would Ace, the original Ace dog, would definitely win more.
Yeah.
And he would win, and he would have finished, because I won countless casts with that dog that didn't get me nothing because as far as his wins and that kind, I wouldn't even begin to think I'm gonna cast that dog because I didn't miss in that era. I didn't miss a UKC hunt. Well, there was so few of them, there wasn't like, there was this many clubs and everything else, if you look at
there's something at Killbuck or St. Louisville, you went to.
Yeah, exactly. You had to, because there was nothing else around, and there was, like I say, that group of us that was first trialing with Don and Doc and Pat, and myself, man, we got bit by it hard. And
when did the Challenge Series start? Were they going already at that time?
No, not early.
Not
I would say
time.
that kind of all started when with Todd Morgan created that.
Late 90s.
Yeah, mid 90s to late 90s might have been into that time frame, but I guarantee you it was probably 5-6 years in before the Challenge Series stuff started.
Yep. Well, hey Roy, we're kind of up. We have a lot more to talk about. We're kind of running out of time here, so we're going to cut cut this thing into a two-parter.
You knew what you were going to get when you brought me in.
That's
here.
good.
My claim to fame ain't never been quiet. So.
Yeah, but hey, that's all right, man. Isn't it fun to go back and talk about some of these old dogs?
It is. It's fun to go back and talk about it. It's fun to talk about the dogs. It's even more fun to talk about the people. The characters you meet and that kind of stuff. Just
and
become
there were some back in those
lifelong
days.
Friend. Hey, I didn't even realize this, but I listened to Turner's podcast there. I'm kind of proud that I'm the first one to whoop him. Okay, when he said his very first that he told you about his hunt that he lost to me, well, I'm going to tell you, Turner, I don't even feel bad about that. I'm glad that hey, I'm the first guy to beat Matt Turner right there. I didn't know I had that accolade to me, but I'm going to take it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Well, hey Roy, I appreciate it. We're gonna hold off. We still got your number 1 to go to. And we're gonna probably talk about a couple other dogs. There's just some other dogs you did some good
and
with.
Like I say, there's so many more I could have mentioned because I've been blessed to have hunted and been handed some dogs. So I'd like that opportunity to bring up some dogs.
Well, hey, we sure will. But hey, for now, so hey, folks, I hope you enjoyed listening to this, and I promise you, we're going to have you on for part 2 here with the sheriff here, and we're going to talk about his number 1 and a couple others. So with that, we're going to close it out here, and we will catch you all on the next podcast.
Thank you for listening to the UKC Hunting Ops Podcast. Be sure to give us a follow so you don't miss any of our new episodes or content.